The following program, Chicago Heal, is sponsored by Ford Desired Real Estate, LLC, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of News Web Radio Company or its management.
I'm telling you, we're back in the studio, and the family meeting was just on fire.
Yes, they were.
They were talking about democracy.
Yes.
I love it. I'm Shawn K.
I'm Meleika Gardner.
And we got Brother Revin. You there? And we're going to have a special guest today. We're going to have Eddie Winters. He's going to be here. He's a former state representative, and he is also a former
lieutenant.
And he'll tell us he used to be I think a big-time cop. Top cop in the suburbs. But, Meleika, I'm happy to be back in the studio. And so be ready to call.
You've been busy.
We've been busy. I'm going to tell you some stuff we've been doing. This is Progressive Talk, and you can call us at 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-WCPT, Progressive Talk Radio.
Yes, it is.
Meleika, quit trying to push me around. You know what? You're trying to push me around because you got a black Supreme Court justice.
Yes, women, we are doing it.
That's right.
Yes,
it's very interesting that you just said women, we're doing it. Black or white, women, you are on fire. And it's not just because you're hot and there's no fan in here. You're on fire.
Yes, let the world know I am on fire. Yes, I am.
Yes. So, Chicago Hill, tell the people why we named it Chicago Hill.
We named it Chicago Hill. Well, actually, you named it Chicago Hill.
We're a team. This is team, one team.
Well, in the discussion, how you came up with Chicago Hill was you have a desire to bring some healing, some mental health, some emotional health to the community. Black, white, brown, you want to bring some healing. And I thought that was a fabulous idea. Not just talk about it, but, you really wanted it to be a message out to people and work to provide the resources that people need to get that healing, because we've gone through a lot, from a pandemic, gun violence, domestic violence that's on the rise. All sorts of police brutality. We've had all sorts of trauma going on throughout the country, but definitely here in Chicago, we've got some serious issues. And, being a leader that you are, a legislator, a leader, you're always wanting to help and listen. Yeah.
And you know what? I got to give the mayor of Chicago some credit. We came through, we're coming through a pandemic. I would give her, salute her for that. And the question is, there's going to be another race coming. And the question is, will she be the one that the people want? Because, it's a lot of facets to being the mayor of the city of Chicago. Got to be able to get along with people. You have to be able to move the city forward. And people have to want to see you be successful.
Yes. And I will say to the people that I have learned personally from you is how to work with people, because that's the only way everybody's going to win. If you're constantly in battle with people, somebody's going to lose or everybody's going to lose.
Yeah, we're in it together.
Yes, we're in it together. I've watched you work with people that you know.
You know what?
Right.
I got to tell you, some of the people that I work with, I love working with my Republican colleagues, and they're, I got to say, I'm not putting them down, but they're different.
They approach things differently.
And we need that balance. You know what? Let me tell you something. I think that we need the balance of bipartisanship. I welcome bipartisanship because, for the most part, if we don't have bipartisanship, it's not progressive, and it is not going to hit all of the channels that we need to hit. So I welcome my bipartisanship in Springfield.
And Republicans weren't always these icky, insensitive, inhumane people. They weren't always.
What you call it?
You don't call them that.
Yeah.
I call them that. But they weren't always those people.
You know, you're absolutely right. The Republican Party of today is different than it was before. There were some Republicans in the past that actually supported women's rights, the right to choose. You know, Democrats don't all support that either. So we have a situation where we have a democracy where people are representing their colleagues or their constituents' best interests. And so this is a democracy. So if you believe in something, you should stand up for it.
Yes.
And you should elect people that think like you.
Most definitely. And you know, I was telling you before we came on air, and I didn't get to get my thought out.
Uh-oh. I didn't stop you.
No, you didn't.
All right. Don't be saying I'm bullying you.
No. we had to get on air. But, you know, Biden, a lot of the Democrats, the legislators take a lot of hits. They've been taking a lot of hits. And I truly believe they need to just be upfront about who's voting against what it is that they're trying to get passed. So like the student loan situation, there's a reason why that didn't go through. But the public is just thinking, oh, Joe Biden lied. He didn't follow through. He didn't do. No, there's a process to it all. And he hasn't been able to get it. You know, he hasn't been able to sign it. So when I look at people like you who's out there fighting, people don't realize the process behind the scenes to get your bills passed, because you have Republicans and some Democrats who go up against you and you can't get the votes to get it passed.
I welcome the challenge. You know, for instance, we have a new, we'll get back to that Republican and Democrats. I welcome the challenge because that's how you have a full, robust discussion. You can't be mad at people that don't agree with you.
Sometimes they just don't understand.
They don't understand. It's your job to convince them. You know, for instance, I didn't have a problem with the Republicans challenging Judge Jackson. That's what they're supposed to do.
I didn't like how they were doing it.
Well, that's the thing. That's personal, and you didn't like how they did it. But that's the way they did it. This is America. They do it how they want. And that's what it's about. And if you want to be a lifetime justice, you got to be able to weather that storm.
You got to be. And she did good.
She didn't crack. She didn't break.
She was smart.
She was smart. And that's what it's about.
But you know what I think? Sometimes Democrats do talk over people's heads. I think y'all need to start calling out by name everybody that voted against your bill.
Well, we can call them out.
Just take that time. Just so-and-so, senator, whatever.
Why we have to do it? Why you don't just look at the voting record?
Because people like me will look it up, but the general public is just waiting on messaging.
Why don't you just be the one and say, guess who voted? Did you pull that out for today? You could tell everybody who did not vote for Judge Jackson. But I'm going to tell you.
I should start a little tab on a website like, this is who voted against.
You should make that a section of the show.
Student loans. This is who voted against you getting health care. This is who, and name them out, each one that voted no.
Why don't you do that report here? I'm getting ready to give a report here, and I'm going to talk about some key budget messaging before we bring on the guests. Our guest and Revin.
Yes.
Now, Revin, you got to open it. What's up, Revin? You there?
Yes, sir. It's nice and sunny outside. I'm just trying to be blacknificent.
Oh, you're blacknificent.
You was born blacknificent.
You know, we just passed a budget in Springfield. You talked about Republicans voting against their constituents. Now, here we are. Here are some key budget messages that I want to tell you guys what we did in Springfield. We've adjourned until November. We have a budget. We finished early. We normally finish May 31st. But here's some things that whether you're elected official, state rep, or your state senator voted for it or not, you're going to get the benefits of this. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
We have a suspension of the grocery tax for 1 year. You go into the grocery store. When the governor signs this bill, you will pay zero state tax for your groceries.
All right,
Republican or Democrat, that's a benefit for you. And what we're going to do, we're going to make sure that the state sends the money back to your municipality. So if you live in Chicago, the state will send the money back. You live in Evanston, We will send the money back to Evanston so that your local government doesn't suffer. We're going to freeze the gas tax that's going to go up. There still would be a gas tax, but there's a inflation tax that's on it. That would be frozen, so it won't go up like the commodity. We're going to double the property tax rebate. Double the property tax rebate. Republican and Democrat, you're going to receive this benefit. We're going to increase and expand the earned income tax credit to cover more people, including immigrants, in this state. We're going to assist working class parents as they manage the pressures of inflation. We are given an EIC, earned income tax credit tax for the Fowlers of a one-time direct check of $50 per adult, $100 for each of their children. So if you got 8 children, you get $800. So I hope you don't have 8 children, but I hope you have eight children. We need to, you know what? We got something for teachers. We're going to double the teacher tax credit for purchasing classroom materials and create a back to school tax holiday for all consumers. That's huge. Now, that's huge. I'm going to tell you, this is going to benefit Republicans and Democrats. I'm the chair of higher ed appropriations, and I led the charge. We're going to do a $122 million increase on the MAP grant. That's huge. $122 million increase of MAP grant. So if you're going to go to college, you stay here, there's going to be a MAP grant award for your student.
Oh, I love that.
That's great. We're going to give $350 million will go toward evidence-based learning. So every school in the state that has what you call a deficit in learning, we're going to give more money to those school districts like Chicago so that they can try to meet the needs of the students. There's going to be a $400 million going toward the healthcare transformation collaborative programs to prioritize communities-driven collaboratives to help safety net hospitals, critical assistant hospitals, and delivering care in underserved communities. That's huge.
That is huge.
I mean, this is what Democrats are doing. And I heard on the family meeting that Democrats need to get the message out. These are some of the things that's happening. And no Republican voted for these things. And there's just so much more. Let's just talk about public safety. $200 million in additional for public safety and law enforcement measures. We're going to support the police so that they can get the equipment that they need so that they could better serve the communities. $124 million will go toward supporting violence in the state. $48 million is allotted for preventing carjacking. That's huge. Preventing. So that's going to mean that we're going to spend money on local safety councils, youth summer jobs, Youth Build Illinois, Teen Reach, Youth Redeployment Illinois, Parents Too Soon, a cooperative community-based youth service. $70 million will go towards domestic violence. We had a show on domestic violence. You pretty much only thought that women experience domestic violence, but we know that there are men that's experiencing it. This kind of stuff happened with only Democrats voting for it. There's a lot more that we could talk about, and I look forward to talking to individuals about all that Democrats have done to help heal the state of Illinois and send more money back to Chicago and to other municipalities. One of the things that I really fought hard for was to increase money back to Chicago and to the local municipalities. And so the LDGF means that we're going to send more money back to Chicago so that they could fund programs like CPS. We could pay more for CPS. We could pay more for community safety, pay more to clean up the trash in the city of Chicago. I mean, it's different in Evanston. We need a mayor that's going to focus on community cleaning, community safety, and supporting businesses. And we're sending that money to Chicago.
You have been working.
I haven't even told y'all all of it. We got to get to the show.
Man, I need the list as soon as possible. I need the applications.
You got it. And so that's just some of the stuff that we did. And the other thing that we worked on, the stealing of those, what's those things, the catalytic converters? We're gonna put an end to that. That's my bill. We worked on the bill to get the governor to sign it so that people could stop all those street racings and shutting down the streets, the highways, and Lakeshore Drive. DeSable Lakeshore Drive, the Eisenhower, the Dan Ryan under the Wacker. We did that. Even passed a bill for prostate cancer so that people could have early detection. It's just so much we did as Democrats.
That is awesome, Rep. Ford. Awesome.
Man.
See, I don't think people really. It's like you need to lay it out. One thing the Republicans are good at is their messaging. They lay it out so simple where people remember and they can repeat it over and over. That becomes their talking points over and over. And Democrats don't do that.
Well, it's
they just
easy.
expect us to just go search for the information and figure it all out. And folks ain't got time to do that. So they need just messaging. This is what the Democrats have done. This is who voted against it, and this is who voted for it. This passed, and a lot of it is really based on humanity. Because you are about humanity.
I'm a Catholic, and I believe in social justice and making sure that we meet the needs. That's what the Catholic faith is all about: social justice. And there were also some penalty enhancements in Springfield that went down. I believe that there are enough laws on the books that could put criminals away for life.
Ooh.
I mean, even if we don't pass another penalty enhancement, there's enough laws on the books that we could take care of them. And we got a friend of the show, Eddie Winters. He was a lieutenant in Chicago, and he was a top cop in the suburbs. He'll tell us who he is.
I learned a lot from him yesterday.
Yeah, he is a top cop. And so the question tonight is whatever you want it to be, but one of the questions I have, and I know you have one, and I know that Revin has one, do we need more penalties to stop the crime? Or do we have enough penalties on the books to deter crime? Or should we try to work with people to try to keep them on the right track?
All the above.
All of the above. 773-763-9278. This is WCPT. We're live in the studio. Brother Revin.
No, I just want to respond to that. One of the great Malcolm X said that there's enough laws on the books to do anything we need to be done in America if we enforce them.
That's right. Malcolm X said that?
I think that's Malcolm X.
Who is Malcolm X? Who is that? I mean, there's somebody listening that probably don't know who he is.
Yeah, well, Malcolm, was formerly with the Nation of Islam, and they went their separate ways, and he founded another organization. I can't think of the name, but Malcolm was the brother that, as we used to support Rep on a consistent basis on redemption, a brother that went into the joint, transformed his life.
Joint? What's the joint?
The joint. He went, not the weed, but the joint, the jail, the cell.
The big house.
Oh, yeah. Down 26 in Chicago, Statesville, Menard.
26 in California.
Got a message, worked with the Nation of Islam, which usually does a great job in transforming. He got that message, got with the Nation of Islam. But the one important thing he said, and he debated across every area of law on every major, said that if the Europeans was for real, there's enough laws on the books. If they enforce them, then it'd be okay. To add another law would make sense because they're not enforcing the laws on the book now.
Well, now, so we got Eddie Winters, the one that, policeman. I mean, I'm going to tell you, Brother Revin, Meleika, if I'm in trouble and I need help, I'm calling the police. Who are you calling? Are you calling Ghostbusters?
I've called the police several times in my lifetime.
What about you, Brother
And they
Rita?
were there for me.
I'm going to call the Lord, then I'm going to call Geraldine, and then I'm going to call my lawyer.
You're not calling the police?
I'm going to call them. They'll be the ones I call. That'll happen simultaneously. But again, sometimes, there's not a lot of all bad officers are not bad. But at the rate we're going, we're not shooting good dice. But I can say this, and I've been, most people might not believe it, I'm 62. I've only had one bad encounter with the police in my lifetime. I've been stopped several times, and to God be the glory. But I've not had, most of my friends, I know they have tragic moments. But myself personally, I don't know what it is, and then I do know somehow to handle myself. But sometimes you get the bad officer, you might not, don't matter how you do, so you have to treat them each one different. But I've never had an encounter, but it's just too much. It's too many out there having testimonies of bad experience. Young men that I deal with are always, as you shared on the audio yesterday, the same testimony you got inside the prison when you went to the county. My young men that I work with books over balls, they're saying the same thing, and you know who's telling a lie, who's not, and most of them are sincere, man. They get pulled over by the police and broke down in the middle of the streets. But again, not to say there's not bad officers. There's a lot of good officers. But they don't get recognized, and so it also, if you as they said yesterday, the good officers got to recognize officers that are doing wrong and stand on that. Because if you're asking young people to snitch, you got to ask other people, police officers, to snitch also. So it's a double-edged sword.
Well, in every profession, there are bad people. And I've had several experiences with law enforcement. You've only had one. I don't know how you got through life being black and being your age and only having one experience of...
Been out late all night and all over the place.
Well, I have had several bad experiences, but they've never been to the degree of our late George Floyd and our Mike Brown. I've come out on top, and I've had several experiences, and I'm a law-abiding citizen. And what I think one of the number one top-tier jobs of the mayor of the city of Chicago is to make sure that we heal the police department. We got to heal the police department. Those men and women in the Chicago Police Department, for the most part, I would say 98% of them want to do the right thing, but we have to have an environment set up for them to do the right thing and have, just like any profession, you have to have rules and you have to have consequences for people that are not following the rules. As a teacher, day one, when I went into the classroom, I laid out the rules and consequences, and you got to be consistent. We have a police force in Chicago that I believe that could be healed with leadership. One of the things that we have to do is increase the number of black police officers in the city of Chicago. As it stands right now, approximately half of the police force in Chicago is white. Now, Devin, there's nothing wrong with being white. We just have to have some diversity in this police force. 25% is about Hispanic and about 20% is black. That is not a depiction of the city. And the people that are involved in law enforcement or the targets of those that are considered criminals or being policed are black, which means we need to get more black cops in, and we have to train them properly.
Get more black cops in and clean out the racist cops. That's white and
the best,
Latinx, Latinos that are racist against black people.
You know what? We
can
have racist cops in. We need to train them. We got to treat them. We have to make sure that there are consequences for their actions, because the best way to deal with individuals is to condition them with rules and consequences. If you have rules and consequences, you can get them. No matter who it is. It's called a contract.
Hey, Rep Ford. Rep Ford, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
A quick statement. The show yesterday was so good, and my good friend, Brother Vic, he's a fireman. He said that you guys need to have a show about the black firemen disparities and some of the things that are happening with the fire department. So he said, tell Rep Ford we'd like to have a show to talk about the black firemen who are feeling some type of way and have some certain issues similar in the same way. So they wanted me to send that request to you to see if you would do a show. We would do a show around.
Absolutely. It's a part of healing Chicago, moving forward, having one city that's going to make sure that we all are successful and feel healthy in this city. So now, speaking of police that get so much, I mean, as much as we need them to also feel that taxpayers deserve to be treated fairly. We got a cop on here. He's lieutenant for the Chicago Public School. Yes, he's a former cop. I don't know if he still has a badge, if they take it or what. If you're always a cop, I don't know. His heart always. He's a former cop. He's a former state representative as well, and it's Eddie Winters, and I think he's from the west side of Chicago. It was great serving with you as a state rep for your time there. You understand the issues. Eddie Winters, nobody could introduce you like you. So go ahead. Who are you? Beside a good-looking brother.
Hey. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for having me on here. And yesterday's show was really, really awesome. And, again, I commend you for the work that you're doing. Thank you as well, Meleika, as well as Revin. Eddie Winters did a little bit over 25 years as a Chicago police officer. Rose to the ranks of lieutenant. After working on the south and the west sides of Chicago, has also worked in the Chicago public housing when they had the buildings up the south side. So my experience and my exposure to law enforcement has been pretty broad. And after leaving the Chicago Police Department, I did take over police department over in the suburbs of Chicago. I enjoyed and had really good experiences at doing that. And as a person who loved to serve, yes, always serving is always in my heart. So, as Meleika said, and as you asked, do I still have a badge? No, I don't have a badge as an active officer, but I have a retirement badge. And so, I carry that, and that's not the only badge. The badge of being a person that's still active in my community. So, doing the right thing and helping those out and helping out different communities is something that I've been doing for a long time.
Oh, that's great. And we have to set the tone for the next half hour of the show. We got a clip about the violence in Chicago. Let's listen to that clip so we have some discussion.
Chicago is seeing a drop in shootings and murders so far this year, though other crimes like carjackings are up. Chicago police data shows gun violence down slightly over the last 3 months, with shootings down from 582 in March of last year to 508 this year. There have also been fewer homicides. The total so far this year is reportedly 128.
Well, do you feel safer in Chicago with that report that there are fewer crimes happening in Chicago? I just don't know how reliable that source is. I mean,
it doesn't feel, just to turn on the news, there's shootings, murder like every day.
And even as you know, that there was a report where we know the numbers were fudged about the number of solved cases. Mm-hmm. And, the fact is they're blaming the state's attorney, Kim Foxx, saying that, we present the case, and if she doesn't charge them, it's a solved case. And so that means if the prosecutor says, I don't have enough evidence from the police and the investigators, I can't indict these people, I'm not going to charge them with a crime, The police department now puts those in the category as solved. So the families are disrespected. There's no one out there searching for the murderers of their family members.
Who decided that those become solved? Like, that doesn't even make sense.
That's a good question. Thank God we have an expert on. Mr. Winters, who in the decided that those are solved?
Well, that would be determined at the administrative level within the police department as far as how we're going to actually determine the outcome of those cases. Because if there's a set of criteria that has been set, then from there you move it on to the next phase of a case. And then once it makes it to the state's attorney's office, and then they make a determination. And again, it could change it will change under each administration. So
the administration being the superintendent of police or the mayor of the city of Chicago?
It wouldn't lie because I worked at the superintendent level at the Chicago Police Department. I would imagine that would come from the superintendent and then with consultation or approval at the mayor's office.
Yeah. Revin, do you believe the numbers of what we're hearing now about Chicago's crime?
No, I'm over here in Woodlawn. I can tell you, no way. No way. And I move around the city. I think even the amount of deaths are not counted because I see a lot of, where the young people get killed, they have these little shrines up. I don't see them on the news. I don't see them in a count. So the numbers have been forged in construction contracts, education, students graduating and done. So this is one of the most corrupt cities there is. So I don't put it past none of the numbers being correct. But our reality, if you're moving around the community, it's not safe. You don't feel safe. And I think if the numbers were moving in that direction, the people could feel it on the block. So if we don't feel it down on the block, it may or not happen.
Yeah. And I don't believe the numbers are accurate. And it's just unfortunate that the city of Chicago decides to disrespect the taxpayers and give numbers like that when families are suffering and people are less safe because we're not catching the killers.
Who does it benefit for them to fudge the numbers?
It's good politically. And so that's not what this should be about. And because there are babies that's been killed and the murderers are still out there. And that's unfortunate. We're going to have another clip also coming up, but first we need to go to some calls. We're on WCPT, Progressive Talk Radio with Meleika. And I'm LaShawn and
Revin Fellows.
And we got our special guest, Eddie Winters. Let's go to our first caller, Bipartisan Roosevelt. You on the air?
Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling.
I got to go back to the top of the show, and I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize ahead of time.
He's getting ready to say something. Go for it. This is live radio, and you can say whatever you want.
All right, well, here it goes. Now, you said that you didn't have a problem with the way the Republicans cross-examined Judge Jackson, right?
That's right.
So the young lady, do you think it's proper to ask the judge, give me a definition of a woman? And do you think it's proper, such as what Lindsey Graham said to her? How do you feel the way the previous judge was treated, which was the guy that cried and said that he liked beer, the Republicans that they shoved in? And you said you didn't have a problem. Did you have a problem the way the leader of the majority in the Senate said when Obama came into office a week later and said that the number one goal was to not get him reelected? And did you have a problem with the minority leader in the Senate currently that when Biden got in, he said he wasn't going to work with the president? So you talk about the Republican Party like it's something out of the 80s. And there is no Republican Party as far as I'm concerned, because here's the thing. It's Donald Trump's party. To me, my opinion. So, but I'm giving you facts of what I've seen and what I've heard. Now, if you have a different opinion, if you could prove me wrong, I'll be more than happy to learn from you. Because to me, it's only one party, the Democratic Party. The other party is going for fascism.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. did you forget? Did you have a problem with our own Adam Kinzinger, a Republican that voted over 90% for Trump, that was censured, and also Liz Cheney by her own party because they didn't toe the line as far as going along with everything that Trump said? So, to the young lady, the two questions. Was it proper for an African-American woman to answer questions, ridiculous questions such as, how do you feel the way the judge...
Let's make sure we understand your question. Was it proper for her to answer it, or did she answer it properly?
No.
He didn't like that they asked the question in the first place.
Oh,
exactly.
I told you, I didn't like how they treated her. The question about what is a woman, asking her to define what a woman is, to me, that was a setup question. One, that case hasn't been brought before her as a judge, so they were pretty much setting her up to make the judgment right then and there.
That's right.
Before it's even brought to her. So it was a setup. And two, it was a setup because the transgender community would come after her so hard if she was to define what a woman is, because you have the transgender community right now, they don't even want to be called mothers as they give birth.
Right. That's the first
so
one.
They don't even want to be called mom. They want to sue the hospitals for saying, congratulations, you're a mom to a baby girl or boy. So it was a setup. It was a setup for her. It was damned if she did, damned if she didn't. So I did not agree with how they were setting those questions up. They were all setup questions.
Let me tell you why you're right.
She handled it right.
Let me tell you why she's right, caller. Roosevelt, the reason why Meleika's got it nailed to the T is because the Judge Jackson knew that she was talking as a justice that actually would have to rule on that issue. And Meleika is 100% right by saying for her to answer that question at that time would be her giving her verdict, her ruling, her dissent right there. And she wasn't supposed to do it. I do know that threw her back. That wasn't expected. You had number two, then we got to go to our other caller.
She handled it right.
She
didn't answer it.
What was that second question so that we could go to our next caller?
Hello?
Yep. What was that next one, Roosevelt?
Well, here's the thing. The thing is, I'm having a problem with you because here's the thing. You talk about the Republican Party like it is a party. It's not a party.
No, I mean, we're not here to defend a party. It is a party. There's a Democratic Party and it's a Republican Party. We can't control the way they have turned their party into a Trump fascist.
Let me ask you something. Okay, let me ask you something. The way it's going right now, do you think it's proper the way the government, you talk about the government like they could work together, you said bipartisanship. How do you work with somebody? You gave examples of there's bad people and all kinds of jobs. How do you work with a person that doesn't want to work with you, that wants to...
that takes talent. That takes talent, and it takes a special human being. Yeah. Ford is one of those human beings because I'm not.
Yeah. You know what, Roosevelt? Thank you for the call. We'll answer that. First of all, in order to work with people like that, you have to respect their views, and you have to convince them to see things your way. You cannot... First of all, as a parent, I realize that as much as I want to make my daughter that's going to Howard University, she's a fantastic, super fantastic student and child, she is making the decision to make us proud of her. But if she wanted to go the opposite direction, the only thing I could do is cry and say that she broke my heart. But she's choosing to make the right decision to honor her parents. So how are you going to make a grown person do things? You have to be civil. You have to work with them and convince them to see things your way. Roosevelt, thank you for the call. Let's go to our next caller because we're running short on time. Let's go to the tax doctor. Is that the tax doctor? Yes.
Yeah, that's Jim from South Elgin.
Jim, you're on Chicago Hill.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
I was actually going to mention the tax doctor because one of the things he's bringing up, which he doesn't think you guys are doing a good job of, there's this thing called Senate Bill 508, Section 5, which is a backdoor way of raising property taxes on the people of Illinois. And also, Darren Bailey, I think, to disagree with some of your assessment of what's going on in Springfield, because a lot of these bills have a lot of pages on them, and nobody reads the legislation.
Well, you know
what? The state of Indiana just recently announced they're slowly phasing away their state income tax.
All right, you want to move to Indiana, Jim? Go to Indiana. Or do you want to stay in Illinois? You're doing damn well in Illinois. You could talk all you want, Jim, but you love Illinois. I don't want you to ever throw Illinois under the bus anymore because you're making a lot of money. You're doing a lot of good for the people in Illinois. You give back. Try to make that money in Indiana. Try to make it in Indiana. Buy a house like you got in Indiana.
Hold on.
Go for it, Jim.
Sean.
Go ahead.
We've been friends for a long time.
I'm just giving it to you. Friends do that. Now I'm respectfully giving you a chance to give it back.
That's right. Well, anyways, like I said, I lose more patients either because they move away or pass away or move out of state. I can't tell you how many of my patients leave because they can't afford to pay all these money for property taxes after they pay off their house.
You know why? Because you don't want to pay more taxes.
We have so much coverage. No. What we got to do is make Illinois more lean. We have, what Florida does is they retire. If something's not voted by the legislature every 8 or 10 years, something like that, it's retired. And so that means all that bureaucratic mess that goes away with it. We have all these school districts in Illinois. We just should have one for each county, especially in rural Illinois. Maybe 2 or something for the bigger counties. We have all these school districts, all this layer of bureaucracy. The tax doctor, I'm sure you know him, he'll tell you how much waste and fraud we have in Illinois. It's not a partisan thing. It's just a matter of being more efficient.
You're right.
Which helps everybody.
Right.
It is.
Jim, you're absolutely right. I want to tell you that the only way to get something done like that is to be civil in our discussions and make sure that we make the case for the people. It's one thing for us to be divided on the issue because what becomes the focus is the fight. What should be the focus
but this is why I call an Urban Talk Radio, because I try to get, if you come across as a real obstinate, arrogant guy, nobody's going to listen to you.
That's right.
So my mother
Jim, I give you credit for that. I give you credit. You have the patience of Job, and you continue to make the case. And one day, just like Revin, Meleika, Eddie, we all make the case. And we know it takes time for people to hear you. Don't stop, Jim. Keep giving it up. Also,
I appreciate it.
Yep. And we welcome you to call anytime.
Thanks. You know what my mother used to tell me?
What's that?
One more thing. My mother used to tell me, tell people, kill them with kindness.
Kill them with kindness. Thank you, Jim.
Right.
All right.
Day, guys. Thank
you too. So now we're going to go back to law enforcement. And I visited Cook County Jail, Meleika. And it was a case, and I really support Tom Dart. He's been a fantastic leader in the county jail. We got people that could do more. We all could be better. But there is this thing where people are complaining about bad policing. And we could fix that. This is what the young man in Cook County Jail said to me. They actually said, if we do something, lock us up. We're okay with that. But if we don't do something, don't put cases on me. This is live from Cook County Jail. LaShawn Ford was there on Dr. King's Day.
We need to protest because the system messed up. Like, I ain't gonna lie, they got some people being charged for stuff they ain't never did. Yeah. We can't talk at court. They not going by laws. Like, we just basically taking time for stuff that we wasting our life. We can't get jobs now when we get out. We can, but it's not the job we looking for. But it's like we can't talk in front of the judge. Like, I don't know. It's like we guilty already. We supposed to be innocent to prove guilty instead of being guilty until we prove innocent, but it's the other way around.
System not right. I think somebody else said, I heard y'all, you said it? Yeah, go ahead. Because they didn't hear you about a lot of people.
Like, we need to change the stuff around because certain police officers be putting cases on us for something we didn't do, So it's like we'll come to jail. They won't let us speak about certain stuff, so the state attorney be going whatever the police say. So it's like we'll be in here for a long time, for like 2-3 years to hear motion. And we're going to be able to hear our motion because we need the police to be there. But they said the police
said they had. They said we did. Why y'all ain't got that?
So I'm just saying, you say the police didn't. Are you sure they be putting cases on people?
Not everybody. Not everybody.
But they do it.
Yeah, a lot.
All right. That's important to know.
I got to say something, too, because I think I heard you say something like what could change and stuff.
Yes.
I be feeling like it's not the community that needs to change. I feel like it's the government because, like, like the gun situation. Like they the ones who make all the guns. And it just don't go to the shops. There's not that many shops with gun shops in Chicago. So where else you think it go to? So all the things that's happening right now, really, the government, everything, fentanyl, everything that happened right now. Yes, that's all come from the government, and it just get put in our hands. They don't just drop it.
They put it in your hand, and they put it in their hands, and they make them.
They put it out there, and we just.
They make it accessible.
They put it in our neighborhood. They put it in our neighborhood. Now think of it. No extended clips, no 100-round drums, no bullets, no Glocks, no SIG, no choppers. No switches is made in Inglewood, Lawndale, Woodland. No cocaine, no heroin, no weed is grown in Inglewood, Lawndale, Woodland, Long Road. Exactly. That's what he's saying. So, but guess what? That's why we started our organization to say that. Forget about the conspiratorial plot.
Well, Meleika, let's get Eddie. He's got to answer this.
Eddie, what are your thoughts to that clip?
Well, you have good and bad and everything as far as when you talk about, and law enforcement is not, is no different from that. One of the things that I will say is, this is moments like that, and when you hear things like that, it drives home more the point of, and the reason as to why the local law enforcement, as well as the state's attorney's office, need to work together to identify people, I call them victims in this case, when these things happen to them. I'd say even like with Chicago Police Department, you have more of an accountability now. You have body-worn cameras. I see the efforts that have been put in place to create more transparency. However, it doesn't mean that we should sit back and just say, okay, problem solved, because apparently these things are still happening. But I do believe when you have more connections to the community as far as the law enforcement, and as far as having more residents that want to be a part of law enforcement, I think we can come closer to solving issues that we have like this. Because if officers understand that their residents and the neighbors of the areas that they work have a connection with the police department, I think that you'll see less and less, or you hear less and less stories like this. So that's just one of many, and I don't have all the answers, but those are the things that I recognize that that could be quick, not quick fixes, but some things that can be instituted.
Eddie,
I like when you say that.
What? my wheels be spinning when I'm listening to what people are saying. So,
can I do that?
Yes. You got Eddie doing it now. So, Eddie, we hear all these horror stories of police officers just shooting on sight, right? Not really taking the time to investigate if the person even really has a weapon or what's happening. Tell us the difference between law enforcement like yourself and then those type of cops. What's going on there? Make us understand.
Again, it goes back to being familiar with the areas that you're and the individuals that you're policing. My background is going to be different from someone's background that wasn't raised on the west side of Chicago, because I see certain things that may not necessarily be perceived as a threat as opposed to someone else that doesn't have the same familiarity. So I think that is one thing. And then also you have to recognize that there are more threats right now in direction, and more assaults that have occurred on law enforcement within this last year than we've had and any other time that I can recognize. And it doesn't make it right, but what it does do is it does heighten your awareness a little bit, and it does raise those issues where I would rather, whereas an officer would rather just try to act or try to be as cautious as they possibly can and making sure that they can make it back home to their families. But also, it shouldn't always be shoot first. It should also be, you have a short period of time in most of these instances to make a life and death decision.
Training is important. When there's, I'm telling you right now, if you break the law, I understand the system is all messed up and that there have been people that have been mistreated equitably in the system and they've been shut out of the mainstream economy. But I'm urging people to fight the system. You don't put yourself in a situation to be criminalized, because that's going to throw your future away. So I'm saying all that to say is I'm for breaking the law, you go to jail. If you break the law, you go to jail. There are consequences for your actions. That's the way it is. And so if that's being tough on crime, it's being tough on crime, but it's also smart on safety.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. Because
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, and again, I've done this, this profession for over 25 years. I can't say that I met a cop or that I'm aware of one who put in a uniform, went to work that day with in mind that they were going to kill someone. I can't say that I've actually experienced that. And so when you're going into these, high-risk situations, and as you were saying, LaShawn, most of the times an incident has taken place. There's a weapon involved. There's a criminal element that exists that these officers are entering. And so that's a high-risk situation. And training kicks in, and sometimes maybe a little bit more training is needed. There's several factors that could be, pointed out where there's needed. And that's why research is continuous.
I know we had discussed briefly also about foot officers, that being something that could help the community trust those police officers, and those police officers get to know the neighborhood, who the business owners are, who the families, who the kids are. What are your thoughts? Because that's controversial. And then also the controversy around whether a police officer should live in the neighborhood so that he knows everybody. And then, you have brought up that that's sometimes not a good idea or safe for a police officer. Can you speak to that for the audience?
Yes, as far as foot officers, it's ideal, but again, as we mentioned previously, it's not consistent. And it's not consistent for a number of reasons, because you do have, the police department is at a deficit right now. So you have a lot of officers that are backing up officers from one end of one district to the other end. And so when you have a shortage of officers, it doesn't allow for you to have the type of foot patrol that is necessary. But I do believe in having that one-on-one interaction and seeing that officer walk your beat could really, increase public perception of the police, as well as how we engage with each other.
Yeah, officer friendly. One thing that Officer Winters, people say that cops should live in the communities that they serve, and the cops should look like the community that they serve. That means if you're in a predominantly black community, you should have more black cops, and that should live in those communities that they serve. What's your take? And we only have a minute.
Well, okay. Well, real quick, just because you're black, I don't think that would necessarily make it, make it the right decision to have a black officer there. But what's really important is to have officers in the district or in your beat that actually is willing to learn your beat, and also willing to listen to people and to be sympathetic to the needs of that particular district or area. And having an experienced officer that so happen to be the same color, of course, that's not a bad idea as well. And the other part of living in the district, I think that's a double-edged sword. First, again, it creates a safety issue for you and your family if you so happen to arrest someone on a pretty good arrest. It may be a good arrest for you, but it may be a bad arrest for someone else. And if they have retaliation on their mind, then that's the risk that you have put your family at.
Yes, that's the risk that you put your family in. And we're going to end it there, and we're going to talk more soon. Thank you very much for being our guest. Meleika, you got a closing?
Yes, thank you so much, Eddie Winters. I've learned so much about the other side as a police officer, and I just want everyone to stay engaged and get involved and find out who's voting against the bills, the laws, the legislation that you want passed. Find out who they are and just stop blaming the debts aren't strong enough. You need to find out why it didn't pass, because they were doing their work.
Democrats are as strong as the people that elect them.
Yes.
This is Chicago Hill. I'm LaShawn Ford. See you next week. Devin, way to go.
The preceding program, Chicago Heal, was sponsored by Ford Desired Real Estate, LLC, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of News Web Radio Company or its management.